welcome back to another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, TV Villegas.
And I am Cinema, Steven Sosa.
What up, Cinema? How are you, my friend?
Good, TV. Just counting down, my friend. Counting down.
Oh, it's so close, but yet so far.
So far away.
Oh, don't do that.
Sorry. What, sing?
Yeah, sing.
You're right.
It makes me cry.
It's that beautiful,
every time. It is. And I don't feel like getting emotional on today's episode.
Sounds good. And why is that?
Because I'm already emotional because it's about family vacations this week. We're talking about movies that have to deal with people going on vacation, in the middle of vacation, road trips-ish, whatever you want to call it. But it is the art of the family vacation this week. And, you know, I get emotional because, unlike you, I don't have that many left with my kids. And
thanks, man.
Yours are done.
Yeah,
okay?
We're finished. No more family vacations.
Empty nesting for you now, bro.
Pretty close.
Does it make you sad?
Well, yeah, it makes me even more sad when you talk about it like that. I appreciate it.
My bad. I apologize.
But it's a good thing. I mean, it's also, whenever we all come together again, that makes it more of a grand moment in time, because then we're all back together again. And it's funny because for my 40th birthday later on this month, they were already talking about where they wanted to go. And Madison's like, well, I can go and fly and meet y'all wherever you're going to go. And I'm thinking, well, I don't think we're going to be going anywhere. But if we did, I said, I don't think you could just like pick up and leave anymore. I think you've got to stick around with your husband for a little while and probably help out with stuff. You've got a
little bit of responsibilities now as a married couple, you know?
You know, you got to help with the bills and all that fun stuff. And I think that realization hit with her a couple of days ago because, you know, we were talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty and how they have that vacation home. And I've been meaning to talk to you about that show for a while too, but they have that vacation home and cousins.
Yeah.
And she was like asking me, she's like, why didn't we ever get a beach home like that? I'm like, oh, I don't know, because I don't have about $500,000 in the bank or something.
Which reminds me, I probably won the lottery tonight and I'm rich right now. Who knows?
Oh, that's the Mega Millions. So yeah,
$1.55 billion.
So I guess after taxes, that comes down to what, like $750 $800 million, something like that.
So after the first, we did the math at work today. After the first initial tax from your winnings, it's like 7 something, and then you get taxed again off of what you take home. So you end up taking home close to about 500 million, somewhere in there.
Oh, just 5? I don't know. It seems like a lot.
It's not worth it, huh?
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough. I want the whole billion. I want to say I'm a billionaire.
I mean, you could for like 0.2 seconds.
So then with that money, I could probably buy that house in The Summer I Turned Pretty, right?
Yeah, maybe rent it for a weekend.
Airbnb it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anyway, man, let's get into it. Our first segment, as always, our recently watched. Steven, you shall go first today, my friend. What have you been watching?
Let's see here. I want to just go ahead and start off by saying that we celebrated the 30th anniversary of The Fugitive, released on August 6th, 1993. It's one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love The Fugitive. People are like, what's your favorite Harrison Ford performance? Is it Indiana Jones or Han Solo? And I'm like, Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive. But, I mean, I've always loved this movie. I have no recollection of the TV series. I never watched it. It was way before our time. It was like in the 60s when that came out. So we may be seasoning a little bit in age, but we're not that seasoned, you know. My dad barely even remembered that show. But that was a popular show. So the movie adaptation, I guess, was a big deal in 93 when it was happening. And, man, that movie's so good. And Tommy Lee Jones, everything about that movie still held up today. And there was a lot of like medical intrigue and conspiracies and falsifying medical records and this and that. And I'm just thinking, man, this is probably ringing true to a lot of things that go on today to get certain pharmaceuticals pushed through. And not to turn this into this kind of a podcast, but watching the movie, basically what I'm implying is like it didn't really seem all that dated aside from like costumes and cars and technology and stuff like that. But
visual effects,
right? And so, but the movie was just so good, and that was another thing about the visual effects is that all of it's all stunt work, man. It's just no CGI, just all stunt work, and it's just such a great movie. And if nobody's ever seen The Fugitive, I highly recommend they watch it. I'm not sure if it's streaming on anything. If anything, it's on Max because it's a Warner Brothers movie. But I have the Blu-ray because I just, have the Blu-ray for it because I love it. But also watch that. We actually saw in the theater the new Haunted Mansion movie. We actually saw that today, to be honest with you. And I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was pretty funny. I funnier than I thought it was going to be with that cast. I said, how are you going to go wrong with this cast? Like, what is... I was going into it with minimal expectations, considering the box office for it has been a complete disaster. Like, we covered it on the podcast last weekend. And how we were just discussing about its $26 million opening is probably one of the worst... openings for Disney in quite a long time.
Very long time, yeah.
And with
who
a budget,
is the cast?
Oh, it has Lakeith Stanfield is basically the main character. Has Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Tiffany Haddish, and Jared Leto. Like,
wow.
Dude, it's a stacked cast, and there's not a weak person in this role, in any of their roles. And I'm not sure what the young boy's name was, but he was a really good actor as well. And I did think it was kind of funny having Jared Leto casted as the main ghoul, the main ghost, and I'm not too familiar with all of the Haunted Mansion characters. I'm not, we're Six Flags, not Disney. As embarrassing as it is to admit something like that. And
it's okay. It's okay.
But I have been on the Haunted Mansion ride, and it's very it's a lot of fun. It's one of Sonia's favorites. And shout out to our friend Erica, who her entire room is haunted. She has one of her extra bedrooms in her home. The one that we actually get to stay in is the Haunted Mansion room. Like it's completely decorated in all the Haunted Mansion decor. They even her walls are even painted like the walls in the Haunted Mansion. Dude, it's so cool.
Wow.
In that room. But so I kind of want to talk to her to see what she thought about the movie, because if anybody had any kind of insights, more so than Sonia, it would be her. And again, the movie, I was watching it thinking, okay, well, what's wrong with this movie that made it such a disaster, such a flop? I'm watching it, dude, and I'm like, I have no idea what was wrong with this movie at all. I think the visual effects were pretty good. I mean, it's Disney, so there's not going to be any shortage in that regard. I thought the acting was good, the costumes, the production value, all of it was top notch. And then the comedy that was in it was actually pretty funny, and they kind of play it for, somewhat juvenile laughter, but none of it was completely dumb comedy. And again, Lakeith Stanfield as the main character, I thought he was really good. He's really good in everything I've seen him, and he was good in Sorry to Bother You, in Get Out, and the Knives Out movie. Like, he's just a really good actor. So seeing him take the lead in this role was pretty cool for him. But unfortunately, and I forgot, Jamie Lee Curtis plays Madame Leota, the head in the crystal ball, anyway. So, but yeah, she plays Madame. So there's another actress in the cast that's just, I mean, it's a top tier level cast. So I don't know, man. I don't understand what happened with this movie. I can't really figure it out. And what's really weird is that when the first Haunted Mansion came out with Eddie Murphy in 2003, it kind of didn't flop per se, but compared to what Pirates of the Caribbean had done earlier in that summer, it was nowhere near it, man. It made like maybe a fourth of the box office that movie did. So pretty much stunted all these ideas that Disney had of making movies out of rides. And I don't know, but I did want to say that the Muppets Haunted Mansion special that came on, I guess it was last Halloween, or maybe the Halloween before that. I actually really liked that one. I said,
that one I did like. That one was good to me.
Right. I thought that was the one that they actually should have released in theaters, probably, if that's the way they want to go. Because, you can use Muppets for anything, and why not the Haunted Mansion? But that being said, I really enjoyed the movie. I really don't understand why it flopped so bad, but it is what it is, man. But I do recommend people watch it. I think it's a really good story. And
Barbie had a chokehold on everybody, man, and they weren't ready to let Barbie go. So I think maybe that probably influenced a big part of why this one was such a flop.
yeah, that's true. The wave that Barbie is on right now is just, it's such a crazy trajectory. I mean, it's about to push 500 domestically, something that is so unprecedented right now. And I did like how Margot Robbie was basically calling her shot. And she said, I feel like this movie will make $1 billion at the box office. And what did it just do? I mean, not to cut into headlines or anything, but it basically broke $1 billion in the global box office. So it's crazy. Have you seen it yet? You haven't watched it yet, have you?
Nope.
Why not, man?
Because it already made enough money. It doesn't need my money.
Yeah, but it isn't about that. It's just about like what
this time of year, man. It's hard for me to get to the theater.
I got you.
As you'll see in my recently watched.
Okay. Fair enough. So I guess the only other things that I had watched this week, we really got into Justified, City Primeval, the new spin-offs. Well, it's not really... is it a spin-off series if the main actor is in it? I don't
I wouldn't count out. I think maybe a continuation or...
I would say so, yeah.
Something like that.
It's kind of like Dexter New Blood. Like, it's not really a spin-off because it's still Dexter, but it's somewhat like that. And, I mean, it's starting to find its footing, I guess. It's still... okay, The Righteous Gemstones on Max just finally concluded, so I was spinning through some of those, and my God, that show is insane. It's so funny. If you've seen any of the previous seasons, you know how madcap that show is. But also finished out This Fool on Hulu. Dude, Chris, do you watch that show? Have you seen that show?
I've started the first season a couple of weeks back, but I haven't.
Dude, it is so funny. I laugh so hard watching that. And I'm watching a lot of comedies like that. Between the Gemstones, What We Do in the Shadows, but This Fool, I don't know. Maybe there's because some association to it, a little bit more of a familiarity to it. But oh my God, I absolutely love that show. But yeah, I guess that's really all I had this week, man. What about you?
Nice. So I caught up on some movies. This week, I watched the new Transformers movie.
Oh, what did you think?
Oh, dude, I loved it.
Was it good?
It was finally like it feels like it's finally getting back to the original like way of storytelling and the original way Transformers was when it first came out, unlike those other shitty ones. But
right.
I mean, and I guess it did all start with that Bumblebee movie, which was actually really good.
I thought that was good too.
This one just continued on with it being a really good Transformers movie. I wasn't too familiar with where it plays as in timeline wise, so it took me till about midway through, I think, to be like, oh, okay, this is happening before all the Witwickies shit.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay. Now and then once I got that through my head and figured that out, I was like, okay, now I know where to place all this. Now I know where all this is leading to and stemming to. So it played off really well. I mean, I liked it. Which has me wondering where are all the beasts in the later movies now? I'm like, did they just disappear? Where'd they go?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, watching. I said, well, clearly they're going to find their way back home somehow or something like that. And they don't even show it in this one. So it made me think that they're going to do something. And I guess it's okay to say, but like the post-credit end scene had the main character working for G.I. Joe. So he goes to get recruited by G.I. Joe. So kind of makes you wonder, like, what's Hasbro cooking up over there? Like, what kind of crossover stuff are they thinking about doing? Because I mean, I don't think they're going to incorporate any of the actors that have been in the previous G.I. Joe movies because all of those are present day, and this is in the 90s. Yeah. So they could be recasting a whole bunch of characters. to play the GI Joe characters, and they'll probably work with the Transformers. I don't know. I mean, it just seems fun. It's something that
it does.
I think is, why not? If you own these properties, like, it's probably best to just put them together every once in a while just to see how it works. Because why the hell not? I mean, we've already had 3 GI Joe movies, and none of them were really that big of hits, you know.
No.
Like the first one, The Rise of Cobra, was kind of goofy, and then that Retaliation with The Rock and Bruce Willis, that one was a little bit better, but not by much. And then Snake Eyes, did you even see Snake Eyes?
Yeah, Snake Eyes was horrible, man.
Yeah,
it
was not
like
that
that
good
one at all.
I didn't like that either. So it just kind of made me wonder too. I'm like, wait, so they have some of the same characters in Snake Eyes that they did in the previous G.I. Joe movies. I thought this was a sequel. Like, how is this even? It was just kind of a mess. But
yeah.
I guess if this is their way to kind of course correct G.I. Joe as well, that's probably what they're wanting to do. But
which is fine.
I'm excited.
If they can continue on with this type of storyline and incorporate G.I. Joe with it, I think it'll be good. So we'll see how it goes.
Sounds good.
Another movie I finally caught up with was the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh man, okay.
To talk about sad.
Yeah,
like I've heard that it was sad, and I was like, oh, dude, it's a Guardians movie. How sad can it be? Oh yeah, oh yeah, it gets you, man, and it's just the whole story of Rocket and how he comes to be, and then his friends, and man, it's just it's
yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking stuff, man. Well, and that's just like one part of it that's sad. There's multiple scenes in there that were just really emotional, and of course, like when Nebula is saying, "And Drax, you were meant to be a dad," like hearing that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh hell no, you know, like, this is this is not what I need. And I've already said it before, but Volume 3 was the last movie that we all saw together as a family of 4, and even though technically we did go see Barbie together as a family of 4, but it was different because when we see Barbie with Matt, she's the guest, she's visiting, like she wasn't already here like she always had been before. But I guess that's kind of the payout. But yeah, Volume 3, where did you rank that one in terms of the other two?
I would say it's second.
Yeah, I think that's
number 1 is first, then 3, then 2.
Yeah, I guess that would be the exact same thing. What about the holiday Christmas special? Did you see that one?
Oh, that's definitely number 1.
That one's so good, man. I was really impressed by that, and I was just thinking that this is so stupid. Why are they doing this? What a throwaway. And then you see Kevin Bacon. You see what happens. You see that Mantis is actually Star-Lord's sister, and you're like, holy shit, this was really good.
And, you know, I'm always hesitant to watch anything that's all like Christmas special, or because Star Wars really fucked that up for me.
Oh, the holiday special, yeah. Life Day.
So it's like, you know, I don't want to watch anything that has Christmas special tagged to it, but this one seemed interesting, and it was actually pretty good. So that one was all right. But Guardians 3, man, it was a definite brilliant send off to that trilogy. It was very well done, which gives me a lot of hope for, you know, everybody's still talking crap on James Gunn and what he's doing with DC, but you know, if he's got a great mind for movies, man, and I just hope he brings that same energy and that same thought process over to DC, and we'll see.
Well, you know, when you think about it from the James Gunn perspective, it's like, look at what the last few Marvel movies and television series, like nobody is really even talking about anything going on. Secret Invasion, this should have been a huge thing. I haven't heard anybody even talking about it, and now it's over, and now nobody could care less, and it's just been such a bust. And the people that I did talk to that have seen it the entirety of the season have all said the same thing. Like, it's so dumb, it's so disappointing, and it's just Marvel as a whole. So what was the most praised and hyped up Marvel movie of the year? Guardians of the Galaxy, because that's James Gunn's baby. And it's just like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, we talked about Kraven, and I mean, Kraven looks fine, I guess, but there's nothing about that movie that would make me just have to flock to the theater to see it. I mean, I will because I have my Regal Unlimited pass. But
There you go.
if I didn't, I look at this and I'm like, oh, that's a Disney Plus movie right there. Like there's no way.
It seems just from the trailers, and I know we've talked about this at length on the show before, but it's trying again to humanize and give emotion to the bad guy.
A villain, yeah, you're right.
And I don't want that. I want
Right.
the bad guy to be bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
We'll see how it goes. What else have I watched? Of course, how can I forget? Big Brother started, my friend.
Oh.
So, that's three times a week we'll be watching Big Brother.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I know we go through this every year, Steven. You forget that it comes on 3 times a week.
I thought there was like the main episode, and then like the recap episode or something, but 3? That's crazy.
No, it's wonderful.
Oh, well,
Steven,
I mean, yeah, if you're a Big Brother
wonderful.
fan, that's for sure. I think 1 Survivor a week is good for me, but I heard a rumor that they're going to go to 2 this year.
Ooh.
Like 2 episodes a week. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Connor will be elated by that because he's the big Survivor buff.
Man,
but
I would love to see that. Like 1 episode be the reward challenge episode, and the next episode be the immunity challenge episode. That way you could maybe dig deeper into the characters' backstories and stuff like that, which may be a little bit better, but also maybe not. I don't know.
because it's like not every episode had a reward challenge. Well, I guess it does, but I don't know,
But
man.
you
That's
could,
a lot.
though, if you're going to that. I mean, it gives them more to do, first of all. So, I don't know.
Well, and the one argument that we always say about Survivor is that we always miss stuff because, like, you'll hear the deliberations taking place, and you hear when they're back on the island after whoever is up for tribal council. Like, you see all these directions and all of them talking, but then when they go to vote, it's something completely different. So you're like, what the hell? When did this come up?
And then they're in council. They're like, yeah, before we came, we talked in this group, and like, well, I didn't get to see you talk in this group. Yeah,
that's cool.
So that would be fun, I think, to try it out and see how it went. Survivor like 2 times a week. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, man, that is it for me. So nothing too much. Covered some movies. I figured you'd be proud of me.
I was proud of you. That's fantastic.
I have to wait till they stream, though, and it's okay.
Yeah, you little screen addict, you.
Oh, TV Vegas. That's why.
Indeed.
So, anyways, got some headlines, do we, Steven?
We have one big one, actually. And
okay.
That headline would be director William Friedkin passed away this week. And, well, I guess we should shout out Mark Margolis, who was in movies like Ace Ventura and Scarface. And he played Hector Salamanca in the Breaking Bad series and in Better Call Saul. So he's the one that's ringing the bell, sitting on the wheelchair ringing the bell. That's a pretty iconic character in pop culture history. But really, William Friedkin passed away this last week. And man, this director, what an accomplished director. This guy, he did The Exorcist, quietly regarded as one of the greatest horror movies of all time. The French Connection, To Live and Die in L.A. You know what movie he did early in the 90s was that Blue Chips with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, I love that movie.
I do too. And I was looking through his filmography and I was like, holy shit, I forgot he did that movie. Like he actually was doing movies all the way up until the early 2000s. I was just kind of surprised by that. But he, long list of careers and accolades. And he was a director, part of the new Hollywood director movement in the 60s. This just kind of subversive group. It's a really interesting kind of thing to look into if you're into filmmakers and stuff like that in the 60s and 70s. But yeah, true talent. And what's kind of sad was that he I think they had talked to him about not directing by any means, but David Gordon Green, who's doing The Exorcist Believers, or the new Exorcist movie that's coming out this fall, he spoke to William Friedkin quite a bit about the production aspect, about The Exorcist, like doing this, doing that, like how. And as a matter of fact, William Friedkin helped coerce Ellen Burstyn to come back and reprise her role from The
Nice.
Exorcist into this sequel. So, I mean, he was still pretty much a conduit from the original to this new remake, and I'm pretty excited about the prospect of that just because of his association with the production. So, it's pretty good. I think that's his long lasting career, and you know they're going to give him a shout out. They
Oh yeah.
have to dedication for the new Exorcist movie. So, I mean, as far as headlines, man, I had that, and then of course we had already talked about Barbie. I had the Barbie breaking 1 billion at the box office, which
Hmm.
I mean, the way that you see these tickets going, it's still number one. It's no surprise. There's other movies that I'm sure would love to break $1 billion. I'm looking at Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. You know, it's
Flash.
just oh my god, Flash just gross anything at this point, and oh my gosh, it's just so sad seeing the box office numbers for that movie. Even kind of Indiana Jones as well. Like none of these movies are just performing well at all at the box office, but boy, Barbie and Oppenheimer, they definitely have no issues there. But I don't know if you had any other headlines.
I had a couple.
Mm-hmm.
One leading off this Barbie extravaganza. I read the other day that because it's so popular and it's made so much money, Hasbro is looking into making more movies off of their toys.
Oh
And
yeah.
the one that's supposedly greenlit and coming up next is a Polly Pocket movie.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, what? She's gonna make it's like Oompa Loompas? Like I don't know. I don't know about
Do you
no
remember
Polly
Mighty
Pocket movie.
Max?
I
The
do
Mighty Max,
remember.
because he was basically the boy version of Polly Pocket. Because I guess
Yeah.
all these little boys were getting all butthurt like Kins, not able to have their own version of the Polly Pocket. But yeah, they created
Hmm.
Mighty Max for that. But I think they're missing the point here. I don't think that it's not so much Barbie the property; it's also what it's about and just the whole zeitgeist of it. But I think that just randomly tossing out Hasbro toys isn't really the or Mattel. It's Mattel.
Mattel.
All these Mattel toys at it isn't really the solution to their problem. Like I heard a joke. They're like, "Oh, great! I can't wait for Uno the movie."
Well, see, this leads into the second part of this headline is
Mm-hmm.
they're in serious talks, and from what I heard is that Monopoly is going to be the one after Polly Pocket.
Okay.
Like, how you gonna make I don't know, man.
I mean,
It's
I've made the joke before. It's like they did with Succession. I mean, that's essentially what Monopoly was. It's just a
yeah.
power struggle. I think it could be done. I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Like acquiring land and property just doesn't really seem like anything could be done about that in a
Movie-wise,
positive
yeah.
way. Yeah. That or just like it could be pretty dark, when you buy someone's property from them. It's not like it's usually a wholesome deal by any means. So I don't know. That's just kind of weird. I mean, I guess if you have a smart enough writer, they can make it into anything.
It'll be interesting to see if this does happen in the direction they take it for sure.
Yeah.
So and then my last headline is I read this on a social media article, and so I did my research to make sure it was true because
Right.
not everything you read on Facebook is true. Absolutely.
Bullshit.
But Adam Devine, man, has
Hmm.
been out here saying that he is blaming the Marvel movies for the death of the comedy movies.
Interesting.
He goes on to say in this article that he believes that Marvel has just made everybody want these huge production of movies. And if they don't get that, they're not going to go to the movies. So all these lower budget, smaller comedy movies are suffering because, you know, we're only going to spend this much money if we get to see this grand movie like a Marvel movie with all the special effects and all the big name stars and this and that. So he is blaming Marvel for almost essentially the death of the comedy movie.
Which is kind of a stretch considering people
Yeah.
people went and saw all those Marvel movies because of the way that the story unfolded. You had to see the next one to get to the next one to get to the next one. It was like a chain of films. It's not just like, oh, we're going to just go pick and choose which Marvel movies we're going to see. That was the whole brilliant structure of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like up until Endgame, they all linked together. So you had to see every single one of them. And not for nothing, but the quality was much better pre-Endgame. And I'm not saying that things after Endgame weren't as good, because there's been plenty of properties that were really good after the fact. It just didn't have the same feeling. It didn't have that same thing. But to argue that as well, Jennifer Lawrence's film, that No Hard Feelings, came out earlier this summer. It was a pretty big hit. It didn't make like $300 million or anything, but what comedies usually do. And I think that movie was an R-rated raunchy comedy too, like almost American Pie style. So for it to generate the kind of box office reception that it did, I mean, that just proves this point invalid, because look, and it's Jennifer Lawrence. Like, who was going to see a comedy with Jennifer Lawrence? Maybe that was the pull. Maybe people wanted to see what she would be like in a comedy, because she seems like a naturally funny person. Like, she's got that kind of personality.
Her interviews and stuff, the way she talks, you're like,
right,
I would love to see her in a comedy movie. And when you watch this one, like, that personality shows through this movie, because it is raunchy. And, some of her interviews and off camera, like off scene stuff has been raunchy. She's
right. And she's goofy.
Doesn't hold back, yeah.
Yeah, even like on her Oscar tours and Oscar like press interviews and stuff, she's a goofball. So I'm like, damn, she just won an Academy Award, but here she is just like making jokes. And I'm thinking, why did she never do comedy? That's kind of odd. But to say that it's because of Marvel, like, it's silly, because Marvel's having their own problems right now. So
yeah.
I mean, granted, I can't really think of too many other comedies that have come out in the theaters that were huge hits. I can't think of too many I see a lot on streaming. I see a lot of comedies there, but I don't know.
Probably him. It's probably his movies haven't been a hit, so he has to blame somebody.
Oh, right. Like that Jexy. Did you see that Jexy? That like Alexa app talking movie? Like, that was terrible. Like, he's blaming Marvel because that movie didn't hit. Like, no, that movie sucked, dude. Like, don't try to like blame Marvel for the fact that movie was terrible, but that's exactly what he was trying to do. So I guess that solves that mystery.
Yeah. But that's all the headlines I had, man. Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, but before we go to our main topic, Chris, I just wanted to ask you, like, what did you think of my my freshly shaven face here?
I was going to say, man, you're looking baby smooth over there, my friend. And why is that?
I'll tell you why. Because I got the Handyman by Manscaped in the mail today. And the Handyman is... Oh, and we do have video, so I'll show it right here. But for those of you that aren't on video, the Handyman... Yeah, exactly. It packs a punch, though, buddy. It's a face shaver, nick-free technology, which is what Manscaped specializes in, because they don't want you all cut up when you're, shaving your face or shaving your junk in the trunk. I don't know how far you want to take the lawnmower. But...
No. Yeah, we just leave it as the junk. Okay. You don't want to get nicks. You don't want to have toilet paper little things as you go to the movies on your dates or whatever,
right.
So it keeps it smooth without nicking you, man. I get it.
But man, that Handyman is awesome. And Connor, he stole my other razor. So I was like, well, if I'm not using an electric one, I always have to shave in the shower or something. But with the Handyman, dude, I could keep that in the car and just fire that bad boy up. Not that I grow facial hair at such a rapid rate, but if I did, I would have the Handyman handy. And I just have to say, if you want to go and purchase one yourself, go to manscaped.com. But if you do so, please use the promo code ScreenAddicts. That's ScreenAddicts, and put that as your promo code and save 20% and free shipping. So
it's all about that free shipping, man.
Dude, no kidding. I can't tell you how many things that I go to buy. I'll be honest with you. There are certain things, not on Manscaped because we have our promo code, but like just a random website. Like, say there's a cool T-shirt that I find on a website, and I go and I'm going to go buy it, and then once I get to the shipping charge, It's like $8 or $9 for one damn t-shirt. And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to pay for this shirt. The shirt's like $12 or $13, but then the shipping's $9. Get the hell out of here, man.
You're
I'm
almost
not gonna...
doubling the price of the shirt is the price of shipping. No.
Right. So, and it's a t-shirt. I know how much it costs to ship a shirt. It's like $3 or $4 maybe, you know, like there's no way. So a lot of that just makes me eliminate the whole order. But every time I go to Manscaped, man, even us, like if there's things that I'll see on there and then I'll go in and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to go do that. But as long as you put the promo code in, like shipping is just completely eliminated because I don't know, the shipping's ridiculous, but
it is.
Yeah. I just wanted to share that little bit of info.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, you know what else? I will say though, you know what else I would take the handyman on? A vacation.
Hey, I was going to say, it's very small, portable. You put it in your travel bag. Yes. You're ready for vacation. Maybe I need to order one before I go see you.
You should. Oh, I don't know if it'll be here in time. You should try, but you could put it in that sweet toiletry bags by Manscaped because they have one of those too. You know what's funny? Is like Manscaped has stuff perfect for your vacation. You know, if you're ready to go on a trip, they literally have everything ready to go for you. So
there we go. And that leads us into our topic for the evening, vacation movies. And, you know, this one was not as hard as last week's birthday episode.
Oh, yeah.
There are some gems. And I must say, I was surprised with both of us that we weren't trying to fight over any National Lampoon movies.
I think that was the reason why. I mean, we kind of basically said, like, look, the vacation movies are too easy. Let's challenge ourselves here and pick a list of films. And so, I mean, we might as well just go ahead and put that out there for the audience to hear that all the vacation movies are off the list. We're not going to pick any of them because they're too obvious.
Easy.
And I mean, quite frankly, they are the best of the bunch anyway. So what would your top three be? Vacation, Christmas Vacation, Vegas vacation, honorable mention European Vacation. Like, it's just like, and if you want to throw in that shitty remake that Ed Helms was in a couple of years ago, you could do that too. But I think that with the vacation movies, it's too easy. But if we're being honest, I think that National Lampoon's Vacation, I mean, that's the pinnacle of these types of movies. Because, you know, a lot of people see Christmas Vacation as their favorite one, right? I mean, that personally, it's probably my favorite one too. But when you think about it, that's the only one of the movies that they don't go on an actual vacation. It's like a staycation. Like, they go nowhere. They stay at home. So it's just kind of like, okay, well, this doesn't really fit in the same way as the other ones do. But I guess it's just like staycations count. But yeah, but like vacation, going to Wally World, European Vacation, like those are some real vacation movies. So that's why we decided that they're off the picking charts and we're going to pick our own. You know, I was going to tell you something else too. I didn't pick anything that pertained to like summer camp either. I thought summer camp kind of fell in its own genre a little bit. Because I think we've actually done a camp movie before, like our favorite camp movies, because
I think we have.
There's just like so many of them, you know, like Heavyweights, Camp Nowhere, Ernest Goes to Jail, the Friday the 13th series, Sleepaway Camp, like all these movies like that deal with a camp. Like it just seems like kind of easy to do that. But I think that's about all that and of course I'm going to go ahead and put this out there too, because I know you don't have any, but cabin movies, like horror
Cabin
movies.
Fever?
Yeah, Cabin Fever, Evil Dead, Cabin in the Woods. Just like any movie that takes place in a remote cabin, while yes, you probably are on vacation, I felt like that's a bit of its own category that we could do. Because, I mean, when you think about it, we could probably rank our top 3 favorite cabin movies just in general. So
absolutely.
I put that one off of my roster. But, dude, going into the research of this, I said, holy shit, there are a bunch of vacation movies, like where families go on vacation and stuff. So, but yeah.
All right. So, do you want me to kick this off like I usually do, or do you want to go?
No, let me go. You're doing the hosting duties, so I'm going to go ahead and start off. I've got a ton of honorable mentions. That being said, but my number 3 is from 2007, 2008. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is a comedy with Jason Segel, Mila Kunis, Russell Brand, and Kristen Bell, and Jason Segel plays a guy that just got dumped royally by his girlfriend. As he's depressed, he decides, I'm going to go on this Hawaiian vacation and just kind of escape the world, escape my life, and just enjoy this nice, tranquil environment until he realizes his ex-girlfriend is there at the exact same resort. And then just all the crazy hijinks that take place. And he meets Mila Kunis, who is the front girl, the front, what do you call it? Concierge or whatever. And I just always thought that movie was so funny. But the funny thing about Forgetting Sarah Marshall is, like, watching it, I always said to myself, like, this place looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, this, I guess this area of Hawaii is just so pretty. And I was kind of looking at Hawaii, as almost a mini genre in itself, because we could probably have our top favorite Hawaiian movies as well. But
oh yeah, for sure.
I just always loved that movie. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it's a great comedy, and I'm kind of surprised that I put it up on the top 3. I don't know why I did, now that I'm thinking about a couple of other ones, but I'm sure I'll get them all in the honorable mention. But yeah, number 3 is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Man, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. Like, I need to rewatch it, especially since you talked about it being in your top 3. It'll happen this weekend. I have to watch that one again for sure. So, all right, my number 3 is one that I'm going with a family that's not really a family, but a family. And We Are the Millers.
Oh, yes.
So, man, it's so good. Just the stuff that they go through on their little road trip vacation is hilarious. And, what's funny to me is the thing that stands out the most about this movie is the blooper reel.
Oh, yeah.
When they start singing the Friends theme song without Jennifer Aniston knowing that they're going to do it. God, it was so funny. She
looked genuinely annoyed by that.
Yes,
like
100%.
She was just like, I don't think this is funny. It kind of killed it a little bit. But, dude, and you want to talk about We're the Millers. Like, how about Will Poulter? Like, what kind of a career this kid ended up having? Like, he's Adam Warlock in Guardians 3. A great role. And then, of course, his little role in The Bear that he just had. Like, this young guy he's blown up quite a bit this year. He's going
places for sure.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed him.
That movie came out 10 years ago, man.
We Are the Millers, 10 years old?
It came out in 2013.
My gosh.
I should make a post about that. And
I've heard rumblings that We Are the Millers 2 is in talks.
They've been talking about that for a long time. They have been talking about that ever since the first one came out. And man, like Nick Offerman and Catherine Hahn, like the married couple that they meet on the road, like God, what a great dynamic! Like such a great pairing. And considering like, especially where Catherine Hahn is today, like man, what a crazy time that movie was. And Ed Helms was the bad guy. Like this movie is just all over the place. It's so funny though. And I remember when that came out too, but yeah, it's a fake vacation, but it still ends up becoming a vacation because that's kind of the adopted family that they become. Like that's a really good pick. Damn.
And I tell you too, and I say the blooper is the most memorable part of the movie for me, which I'm lying and I have to be honest. The dance scene where Jennifer Aniston dances in the warehouse.
Oh, of course.
Is probably, I mean, she's like 50-something and looking like she's 24.
Well, I didn't want to call you out when you said the blooper reel, but I'm glad you stepped up to the plate and just admitted it. Because we have transparency for our listeners here, Chris. We have got to be honest with the faithful fan base of the Screen Addicts fanatics.
And if anybody knows me, they probably called bullshit too when I first said that. So you know what? Yes, you're right. It was bullshit.
Like blooper reel. Did he just Google that?
But man, I mean,
no, you're right though. She looks amazing, and that was just that was crazy. Yeah, she's like in her late 40s, early 50s, I guess.
Somewhere in there.
Man, that's crazy. But yeah, that was
it's what Hollywood money can buy you, man.
I suppose so.
So, okay, I guess we're going around to my number 2 now.
Sure.
My number 2 is an old movie, man, old classic. It's one I grew up with, and I remember just laughing my ass off at this movie, and it's one that I have to show my boys soon. But it is Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, if you've never seen Weekend at Bernie's, it's about these two guys. They work in an office. They find some messed up stuff in the records, so they go tell their boss about it. And the boss ends up dead, essentially. And so they have to go this whole weekend trying to act like this dude is alive. And so they do all these things, and it's kind of a vacation because they go out to his beach house.
Oh yeah,
they think it's he invited him. Hey, come talk to me about this at my beach house. Take some time off of work, little vacation. And oh my god, dude, this movie's so funny. Oh, when they're riding in the boat and he falls out of the boat, and they're just driving and like. There's no sense of, like, the part where there's no sense of urgency. Like, oh, crap, he just fell out the boat. He's all like, yo, he just fell out the boat.
Yeah. And he's hitting the bells of the water. Dong. He's like, did you hear that? Yeah. That's weird. Larry Lomax is dead. You know, me and Sonia watch that movie every Labor Day because that's one of her all-time favorite comedies. Much like Rachel and Friends, you know. But speaking of Aniston, I remember as a little kid thinking that even the sequel, Weekend at Bernie's 2, was pretty good. But as we get older, man, I'm watching Weekend at Bernie's. It's still pretty funny. It's dumb as hell. Of course it's dumb. But it is really funny. But, man, watching part 2 again, it just does not hold up. That's the one where they go, I guess they're, I don't know what island they're in, but they deal with the voodoo. Like, there's a voodoo spell, and it makes him, like, reanimate as he hears music. When he hears music, he's able to like reanimate his body and dance. And the spell is to basically, the music's playing long enough for him to find some buried treasure that he had. It's really stupid, man. It's just such a dumb. And the fact that the body hasn't decomposed by this point is just.
It's because he's under a spell, Steven.
Oh, right. I forgot. But yeah, Weekend at Bernie's. That's such a funny ass movie, man.
And all of our young listeners, I would say younger than 30, probably. I've probably never even heard of this movie.
No, absolutely not.
So go definitely. I don't know where you can stream it. If I can find where you can stream it, I'll put it in our Facebook Screen Addicts Fanatics group. But if not, it's worth the $2-3 to buy it on wherever.
It's like 85 minutes out of your life. Like you won't waste any time because like. I guess the first half of it when they're still in the city working in the business office and like he goes out on that date with the coworker that he's trying to convince he's not crazy. That kind of drags a little bit, but once they get out to the island, man, and the house, then it's just like nonstop, and it's just such calamity and comedy.
Even at the beginning, man, when they're on the roof in that little bitty pool and they're trying not to
in the tar. All over the room. I guess he goes, "This sucks. I'm so unhappy." He's like, "I want a real beach." And then his little 80s radio is like stuck to the ceiling. Yeah, I take it back. That whole damn movie's funny. Good pick.
All right, man. What is your number 2?
My number pick is also a comedy. You know, I did make a joke of saying I think a lot of horror movies are ending up on my list, but as it turns out, they're mostly comedies. But my number 2 is this is also a cult classic. It is 1991's What About Bob with Bill Murray.
Oh, I love that.
Right, and Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray, or I guess I should say Richard Dreyfuss plays a brilliant psychiatrist who decides to take upon a new patient, that being Bob Wiley, played by Bill Murray. And as he's helping him, he realizes that he will not be able to see his new psychiatrist because his new psychiatrist is going to Lake Winnipesaukee, the family lake house, for Labor Day. So they're going to take their family vacation. And Bob, for whatever reason, I mean, I guess he can't help it if he's got psychiatric issues, he decides to take it upon himself to say, "Hey, I'm going to follow you and your entire family out to the lake and I'm not going to be there as a patient. I'll be there as Bob, your friend. And then he's basically stalking his entire family, but I guess it's okay because he's a lovable oaf and he means no harm to anybody. He's more of a harm to himself than anything else, but he starts befriending his family. They all end up loving him. They all somewhat like turn against Richard Dreyfuss, who's basically trying to tell these people, this guy is crazy. He is a patient. He followed me here. He is basically stalking me. What do y'all not get? And dude, I'm sorry, but the scene where they're having family dinner and Julie Haggerty, who was in Airplane and Just Friends, like she makes this dinner and he's just doing the so good. Just like that whole scene was funny. But then when Richard Dreyfuss acts like he's choking on something to get some kind of like attention and sympathy and compassion from his family, Bob goes in, does the Heimlich. He's like jumping on his back on his couch with his knee. And oh my God, that is one of the funniest scenes like any comedy I've ever seen in my life. And basically it just turns the whole family vacation upside down. And I absolutely love What About Bob. Now that's another one too, man, that I don't think is streaming anywhere. I have the DVD. I don't even think they've upconverted it to Blu-ray yet. They may have, but I still have just the DVD copy of that movie. So I don't know. What they'll probably do at this point is just like leapfrog Blu-ray and just go to a straight 4K
Streaming.
restoration, or just streaming somewhere. I don't know. I have to look into that, but I highly suggest if anybody wants to watch something absolutely hilarious, you got to see What About Bob. And Bill Murray's my favorite Bill Murray movie.
If I'm correct, there's a pretty damn hilarious boat scene in this movie too, is there not?
Yes. He's going sailing because he's afraid to go sailing.
Yeah,
but that's another kind of
they tie him to the mast.
They tie him to the mast, and he's like, "I'm sailing." Oh my God, it's so funny. But that's another great thing about the movie too, is like his family is actually helping him overcome all of his issues. It's actually kind of sweet. And oh my God, I just love What About Bob.
His family could be counselors on BetterHelp.com.
Ah, you're right. You know, I wonder if Dr. Leo Marvin is one of the brilliant counselors that you can seek on BetterHelp.com. That's a good point, Chris.
Could happen.
I know Bob Wiley could use some better help. My God, that dude was out of it. But yeah, but also on a serious note, if you do know of anyone or yourself is needing to talk to or seeking out any kind of counseling services, BetterHelp.com is actually offering 10% off of your first month's usage if you use the promo code ScreenAddicts. But you've got to put that in the whole thing. It's BetterHelp.com/ScreenAddicts. It's all one word at the end, and you'll get 10% off your first month if you use that. And man, from what I could tell, the people that have, it's a pretty beneficial thing to do because, I mean, everybody could benefit from talking to somebody.
Absolutely. It's definitely a better option than stalking a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, how you do get the benefit of choosing your own counselor on BetterHelp.com, kind of how Bob Wiley chose Dr. Leo Marvin. So, I mean, it just kind of works out, and it doesn't play in such a psychotic or crazy manner, but I think if you as yourself seeking some kind of advice, or I mean, because like I said, it could be a minimal issue, it could be a serious issue, doesn't matter, just go to BetterHelp, you fill out the application in there, and they set you up with whoever you want to do, and you can have a voice call, you can have face-to-face, you can have an email correspondence to begin with, just to kind of, you know, open things up a little bit. It's just however you want to feel comfortable doing this sort of thing. So again, it's BetterHelp.com/ScreenAddicts. 10% off your first month.
Awesome. So
that was pretty good, Chris.
It was. that telling you. You said you had a list of a lot of honorable mentions. So I'm going to go ahead and let you rattle them all off because more than likely the ones that you say I'll have on my list too, so go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you do yours, and then I could just cross them off mine. I guess it's the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mamma Mia. They go to Greece. Great musical. Just Go With It. Speaking of Jennifer Aniston, Adam Sandler, that one's another one where they did go. Where do they end up going in that? They all go on a fake, because that's kind of like a fake family vacation as well.
Yeah.
Where is it, the Bahamas? I don't
think
really
it
remember.
is.
But shout out to my mom and our old mom's episode, Under the Tuscan Sun, where
Yes.
Diane Lane decides to go to Tuscany. Pretty much uproots her entire life there. North Shore is an 80s surfing movie where this young kid from Arizona goes out to the North Shore in Hawaii. Another Hawaii movie. That would probably be my number one now that I think about it, where he just goes to the North Shore to go surfing, spends the summer there before he has to come back and go to college. Damn, I should have actually probably put that in my number 3. I love North Shore. That movie's fantastic. Letters to Juliet, where Amanda Seyfried decides to go out to Verona and see the wall where these people write letters to Juliet, Capulet, and it's basically like reciting the love of the person. It's like supposed to be like a good luck spell kind of a thing. I don't know. It wasn't as cheesy as like When in Rome with Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard. Vacation Friends. Vacation Friends with John Cena and Lil Rel on Hulu. Did you see that movie?
I've started it. I haven't finished it.
It is so damn funny. It is hilarious. And Vacation Friends 2 is actually coming out, I think, this year. And so they're getting a sequel to that. Eat, Pray, Love, Before Sunrise, French Kiss, Grown Ups, Girls Trip, Spring Breakers. Love Spring Breakers.
Wow.
The Hills Have Eyes, where the family in the RV. That's kind of more on the terrifying aspect of things.
Yes.
But yeah, The Hills Have Eyes. And I guess my final honorable mention is The Way, Way Back with Steve Carell and Sam Rockwell, where the family go out to that. I guess it's like a lake house or something. It's kind of like The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's in this coastal community where they go and rent these houses for the summer. And then the young boy decides to... damn, I could have probably put that in my top 3 too, because that movie's so good. He gets a job at a water park, and Sam Rockwell is the manager at this water park, and he's just such a cool, fun type of guy in a role that Sam Rockwell doesn't typically play. So it was really against type. And Steve Carell is actually kind of the villain in this movie. Like, he's a real jerk, and he's potentially going to be his new stepdad, or maybe he is a stepdad, but he's just such a jerk to him. But yeah, the kid works with the crew there at the water park, and they all become friends, and that's such a great movie. The Way, Way Back could definitely probably be in a top 5 for sure. But yeah, that's all I had, man.
Nice. So, all right, on to the number ones.
You didn't have any honorable mention?
Man, you've said them all, brother.
Oh, okay. I was just checking.
I think maybe the only one that I would like to say, maybe Spanglish. Maybe Spanglish would count as a vacation movie.
No, yeah, they go
because they're at their vacation home, and you know I've talked about that being one of my favorite rom-coms, I believe.
Man, you've put that in your rom-coms. You put that in your chef's movies. Like, Spanglish is top of the list for you.
I love that movie, man.
I need to go rewatch it. I always say that, and I never do, but I think I'm going to for sure now.
So, but number ones. It is time, my friend.
Indeed.
You or me? You tell me.
I'll go first, man. I'll
go first?
I'll let you in this one. So, my number one movie is from 1994. It is Meryl Streep, Kevin Bacon, David Strathairn, Joseph Mazzello from Jurassic Park, and John C. Reilly in The River Wild. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. And basically, The River Wild is about Meryl Streep decides to take her young son, Joseph Mazzello, out on the river. And she used to be this really adventurous whitewater rafter, this tour guide and a rafting guide. And she's really accomplished in that. Well, she's trying to go and take her son out for his birthday. And then Kevin Bacon and John C. Reilly play these criminals who basically hold her hostage and force her to take them down the river to get away from this jailbreak, or not a jailbreak. They robbed like a county fair. And so they're on the run, and then David Strathairn shows up. It's her husband. And that's such a great thriller. Dude, and you know what kind of pisses me off? They remade it with Adam Brody and Leighton Meester. It's on Netflix right now. And I watched the trailer for it, and I was like, damn, this looks dark. Like, dark in color, dark in tone, dark in story. But I mean, I'll give it a watch. But there's no possible way that it could be better than the original River Wild. I mean, the director Curtis Hanson went on to do L.A. Confidential and 8 Mile. Like, this is a really accomplished director making this movie here. So, Andy also did The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. So he's a very accomplished suspense director as well. So there's no doubt that the River Wild wasn't going to be good. But I just think every time I go on a vacation, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I do not run into a psycho like Kevin Bacon and just totally ruin the vacation. But I absolutely, yeah, it does. And, but I highly recommend everybody going and seeing the River Wild.
Man, it's one that I haven't seen in a while. And I have to watch it because it is your number one. So next week's episode, I'll be talking about my recently watched The River Wild.
Right. Not to be confused with Whitewater Summer, which is also another kind of like camping summer movie with Kevin Bacon. That one came out in the 80s, and that one was pretty good too. He's kind of a jerk in that, but he's not a complete psycho like he is in The River Wild. But yeah.
Cool, man. Great number one. So that brings me to my number one, and I have to tell you, man, this is not just my number one vacation movie, but I would put this movie in my top 10 of all time.
Whoa.
Just because and I think more now that I'm older and I see the side of the father in this movie than the side of the kid when I first watched it, it means a lot more now. But I am talking about 1988, The Great Outdoors. Dan Aykroyd, yes. John Candy. Man, this movie is just, it's hilarious. John Candy. John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, you can't go wrong with this movie, man. It is just, it's so funny. But on top of that, on top of the funny, there's an undertone of like real seriousness about their kids and trying to connect with their kids. And that's where this movie, after rewatching it, there's a whole nother level as you get older and you see the other side to this movie, you know, and especially with my oldest son being the teenage boy age now, like John Candy's son in the movie, it's like, man, I really want to connect with you. I really want these things that we do together to mean a lot more, so you remember them a lot more. And, you know, he does anything and everything to try to make this connection. And, you know, I find myself trying to do that with my son. And so, oh man, it's so good. So good. And especially when you blow a bear's bald ass head off and then his ass off at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
that weird lamp gun. I always thought that was so crazy. All right, let me ask you this. So, would you attempt to eat the old 96er steak?
Man, 96 ounces of steak is a lot. Like, you hardly see people finish the 72 ounce here in Amarillo.
Yeah.
That is a shitload of meat. And then you have to do the blood as well, or the blood or the fat or whatever that was in that little... No, sir. No, sir.
Have you done the 72 ouncer at the Big Texan?
Hell no. I'm a big dude, okay? I live that 3X life, but
I don't know, man.
Do that, man.
I've
That's
seen
a lot.
I've seen some people on TikTok. Like I just like randomly Googled. On TikTok, I was looking at 72 ounce steak challenge. Big Tex. There was a young fitness instructor or somebody, this young woman who is probably like 5 feet 2 inches tall. She ate the whole thing. So I'm like, there's got to be some kind of like breakdown in your body that's just dissolving that stuff, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
The record holder is a girl. She's a professional like eater, I guess you would say.
But
she's this tiny, tiny girl. She ate 3 in 8 minutes.
3 72-ounce steaks?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
No. Dude.
That's insane.
YouTube the video, like, you'll see it.
I'm gonna watch
insane.
That. That's great.
Like she ate that thing faster than the Bengal tiger that they brought in to eat it.
That's insane. So, the old 96er in the Great Outdoors, is that a real place? Or is that made up
I
for
don't
the
think
movie?
so. From what I have read and what I've heard about it, they got inspiration from the Big Texan, but it's not a
Right.
real thing. So,
Because a lot of people do misconstrue that scene. They like to say that he goes to the Big Texan. I'm like, no, they're not even anywhere near Texas in that
no.
movie. So, but that makes sense that the inspiration would come for that. So, well, yeah, The Great Outdoors, man. I haven't seen that movie in so long, man.
Dude.
It's been such a long time. I miss John Candy.
I
God, that guy
do.
was funny, man. We were talking about Uncle Buck the other day.
Last week, yep.
Yeah, just
He's
so good.
one of those once in a lifetime talents, man. I don't
Yeah.
think I can even think of anybody that is like him nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, now? No, absolutely not. I would say
No.
like Chris Farley was somewhat close, but he wasn't. Chris Farley was too chaotic and just like
Yeah.
loud and boisterous. John Candy wasn't really like that. He was just funny. He just happened
Yeah.
to be somewhat heavy set, but he was just funny. Man, The Great Outdoors. I'm gonna watch that too. So I'm gonna watch The Great Outdoors in Spanglish, and you watch The River
Yes.
Wild.
Perfect. I think it's a fair trade off.
I think so too. No problem.
Anyway, well, guys, I think that wraps us up for tonight. If you have any vacation movies that we did mention through the honorable mentions or our top three, go ahead and drop them in our socials if you already follow them. We'd love to hear which ones you think are some of your favorites vacation movies. But since you are here with us on this podcast, guys, thank you so much for listening every week. We really, really appreciate you. Whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, whatever you listen to us on, thank you so much. And since you're here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you are notified every week on exactly when we're dropping the episodes. We've been dropping them every Thursday or Friday, weekly now, which is awesome because me and Steven finally got on this schedule and we're kicking these things out, and it's been so much fun to be back on the regular schedule. So go ahead and leave us a review as well. We'd really love that. 5 stars if you can. It just helps us get seen in the search engines a little bit more. Also in the social media world, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, X now, not Twitter, it's X, or TikTok. Just search the Screen Addicts Podcast. You are bound to find us. Just look for our beautiful cover art, as you see above you, to the side of you on your screen, wherever it is. You'll see us there. Follow us on all the social medias. And go on back to Facebook and then look up the Screen Addicts Fanatics private group. Guys, that is where we're most active, having the most fun, sharing trailers and movie news and memes, and really interactive with all of our listeners and our fanatics there. So go and become one of our fanatics. We'd love to have you. Other than that, man, I think that does. Oh, no, I lie, because also, guys, if you have any suggestions, comments, or anything you want to tell us, just let us know by dropping us an email at screenaddictspodcast@gmail.com. I know we're saving up some questions so we can have some good time just to read all these questions all at once, so we can take a little bit of time and actually answer them for you. So leave us one if you have one. But now I think that wraps us up. Steven, you have anything else, my friend?
No, that is it for me, my man. Until next week.
Until next week, guys, thank you and good night.
Adios, amigos.